So at the time, he was the number one box office draw in the world because of a myriad of movies, 48 Hours, the Best Defense, Trading Places. But when Eddie Murphy did The Golden Child, what a strange performance. He called the movie a piece of shit. And the way he presented the main character and the way he presented the movie itself was so bizarre and so uneven that the only way you can review this movie is saying that the fact they made it is one of the worst movies ever to make almost $150 million in the box office. Now, The Golden Child is a 1986 American dark fantasy action comedy film directed by Michael Ritchie. The film stars Eddie Murphy as Chandler Jarrell, an LA social worker who is informed that he's the chosen one and is destined to save the Golden Child, a kidnapped Tibetan boy with mystical powers who is said to be the savior of all humankind. Alongside Murphy, the film cast includes Charlotte Lewis and Charles Dance. Rated PG 13, Murphy's first film not to be rated R by the MPA, The Golden Child was produced and distributed by Paramount and received a total gross of 79,817 at the U.S. box office, but 70 million worldwide. Now, in this one, which makes absolutely no sense from a plotting standpoint, in a remote temple in Tibet, a young boy with mystical powers, the Golden Child, receives badges of station and demonstrates his power to the monks of the temple by reviving a dead Eastern Rosella, which becomes a constant companion and familiar. A mysterious man, Sardo Noobspa, had his men break into the temple, slaughter the monks, and abduct the boy. Now, a young woman, Keenang, watches a LA TV show in which social worker Chandler Jarrell talks about his latest case, a missing girl named Cheryl Mosley. Key seeks him out and informs him of the kidnapping of the Golden Child, and that he's the chosen one who would save the child. Please explain why he's considered a Golden Child, because he's on television. We don't know. The Chandler, like the audience, does not take this seriously, even after a bird begins following him and him seeing an astral projection of the child. The next day, Cheryl Mosley is found dead near an abandoned house, smeared with Tibetan graffiti and a pot full of blood-soaked oatmeal. Key reveals to Chandler that this house was a holding place for the child and introduces him to Dr. Hong, a mystic expert, and Kayla, a creature half dragon, half woman who remains hidden behind the screen. Now, when Chandler and Key track down a motorcycle gang, the Yellow Dragons, which Cheryl had joined, and Chinese restaurant owner Tommy Tong, a henchman of Noob Spa, to whom Cheryl has been sold for her blood to make the way to make the child vulnerable to earthly harm. However, Tong is killed by Noob Spa as a potential traitor. Noob Spa then communes with his master, an unseen powerful demon, who informs him how to kill the child. Still not taking the case too seriously, Chandler is drawn by Noob Spa into a controlled dream where he receives a burn mark in his arm. Noomspa presents his demands, the Ajante dagger, a mystic weapon capable of killing a child, in exchange for the boy. Chandler finally agrees to help, and he and Key spend the night together. Now, Chandler and Key travel to Tibet, where Chandler is swindled by an old amulet seller, later revealed as the high priest of the temple, where the dagger is kept hidden, and subsequently Key's father. A very stupid scene in every shape or form. In order to tame the knife, Chandler has to pass a test, an obstacle course in a bottomless cavern whilst carrying a glass of water without spilling a drop. With luck and wits, Chandler recovers the blade and even managed to bring it past customs into the States. That night, Noomspa and his henchmen attack Chandler and Key. Hello. Oh, Jeffrey. Hi, how's it going? Well, no, I'm answering. So again, here's where it gets a little bit flighty. That night, Noomspa and his henchmen attack Chandler and Key. The Ajante dagger is lost to the villains, and Key takes a crossbow bolt meant for Chandler, dying in his arms while confessing her love for him. Dr. Hong and Kayla offer him hope. As long as the sun shines upon Key, the child might be able to save her. With the help of the child's familiar, Chandler locates Noomspa's hideout, retrieves the dagger with the help of Till, one of Noomspa's men, converted to good by the child, and frees the boy. When Chandler confronts Noomspa, he reveals himself as a winged demon. Chandler and the child escape, only to be trapped inside a warehouse. Chandler eventually loses the dagger when the warehouse collapses, with Noomspa buried under falling masonry. Chandler and the child head to Dr. Hong's shop, where Key is being kept. As the two approach Keaty's body, a badly injured but berserk Noomspa attacks Chandler, but the amulet the old man sold Chandler protects him, then blasts a dagger from Noomspa's hands. The child uses the magic to place a dagger back to Chandler's hands, and Chandler stabs Noomspa through the heart, destroying him. The child then uses the last rays of sunlight and these powers to bring Key back from the dead. The tree later take a walk discussing the child's return to Tibet. So, written by Dennis Feldman, produced by Edward S. Feldman and Robert D. Wachs, cinematography Donald E. Thorne, edited by Richard A. Harris, music by John Barry and Michael Colombier. We'll get that in a second. Paramount, of course, big in the oeuvre for Eddie at the time, 94 minutes. The budget is between 12 and 24.5 million. Of course, I think Eddie got about 20 of it. And the box office, again, 115 million. Now, Randall Tex Cobb plays one of the evil ones, and a very, very no-name cast. Now, J.L. Reety, the actor who played the Golden Child, the male titular character, was actually a girl. Jasmine Lauren Reety, now who was 7 years old when filming began. This was her one and only theatrical performance, but she wound up the movie industry anyway. As of 2009, she was executive director of events, get this, at TIFF. Now, Dennis Feldman, a professional photographer, only running credit, was just one of the guys, and he probably wrote that nude scene too, which is famous in nude history. Wrote a script called The Rose of Tibet when he planned as a Raymond Chandler movie with supernatural elements. It attracted Hollywood's attention. After bidding war, Paramount Pictures purchased the script for $330,000. Feldman had intended to be a detective story rather than a comedy and thought of Mel Gibson for the lead role. Now, John Carpenter was offered a chance to direct the film, but he preferred to instead work on Big Trouble in Little China, starring Kurt Russell. Murphy met with George Miller to direct the film. Now, for special effects, the team used both CGI, traditional stop motion, and go motion. Now, it's not really a comedy per se, it's just Eddie Murphy being slightly sarcastic, and it doesn't work. Now, Alan Silvestri was originally sought to provide the film's score, but turned the project down. Paramount then turned to John Barry, who had just come off the award-winning score for Out of Africa. Now, the score for the film is quite good, actually, but doing post-production, Barry also left the project, with both differences with the producers and test screening feedback presented considerable challenges for the composer. The test audience reaction led the producers to replace Barry's score with a second score by Michael Colombier that, in contrast to Barry's work, was mostly synth-pop, although there were some brief orchestral passages throughout. Some of Barry's musical cues remained in the final cut to the film, and one track, Wisdom of the Ages, appeared in the first soundtrack release issued by Capitol. Now, 2011, La La Land Records released a limited edition 3D soundtrack containing the entirety of both Barry's most unused score on Disc 1 and Colombier's final theatrical score on Disc 2, in addition to an exclusive Barry-composed song sung by emerging composer Randy Edelman. The songs that had been released on Capitol's first soundtrack in '86 were all also featured in the set. Now, the soundtrack included Ann Wilson singing The Best Man in the World, with lyrics by Wilson, her sister Nancy, and Sue Enos, and music by John Barry. Rat, a single Body Talk, has to be seen, we believe. Wisdom of the Ages, composed and conducted by John Barry. Let Your Love Find the Chosen One, performed by Marlon Jackson, composed by Marlon Jackson and Kathy Wakefield. The Chosen One, composed by Michel Colombier and performed by Robbie Buchanan. Putting on the Ritz by Irving Berlin. Another Day's Life by David Wheatley and Martha Davis, Shame on You. Now, released around Christmas '86, it was a box office success. Again, it earned $80 million US alone. Now, according to Murphy in '89, my pictures make their money back, no matter how I feel. For instance, about The Golden Child, which was a piece of shit, the movie made more than $100 million. So when I say it sucks. After Golden Child, Murphy would participate in the writing of many of these films. Despite its commercial success, the film did not meet Paramount's expectations when it compared to Murphy's previous film, Beverly Hills Cop, in '84, which garnered $234 million at the box office. Now, on Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 21% based on 24 reviews, with an average rating of 4.2. On Metacritic, the film has a score of 37 of 100, based on reviews from 12 critics, including generally unfavorable reviews. Audience surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on the A+ to F scale. Now, Roger Ebert of Chicago Sun-Times liked it, giving it 3 out of 4, saying the Golden Child may not be the Eddie Murphy movie we're waiting for, but it will do. It is funnier, more short, and more tailored to Murphy than Beverly Hills Cop, and it shows a side of his comic persona that I don't think has been much appreciated. His essential underlying sweetness. Murphy's comedy is not based on hurt and aggression, but on affection and on understanding that comes from seeing right through the other characters. Now, Leonard Maltin gave the movie a bum, saying Charlotte Lewis gave a wooden performance, and entire reels go by with hardly a chuckle. Now, writer Dennis Feldman was disappointed with the film and thought he should have taken the script more seriously. But instead, everybody wanted to make an Eddie Murphy comedy and was critical of directors Michael Ritchie. It's not what the director should have done, and he don't even do that. He didn't even do that well either. Charles Dance said he enjoyed doing it despite the fact that the big draw was Eddie Murphy. Now the movie to me could have been a lot better, and the shape is Eddie Murphy was instilled in carrying the movie all by himself, and that could have been done. If you could have, let's say, a Bill Murray or a Saturday Night Live alum, even maybe Joe Piscopo to play, a sounding off character would have worked. But the female lead is vapid. I mean, she's a beautiful lady, but she's flat. And the fact is, the villain would have been a more recognizable villain. I think it would have done better, like a Rutger Hauer or something. Because you look at Buffy the Vampire Slayer, how he played out, it was quite good. I would give this 2 stars out of 4, but just seeing a young Eddie Murphy, and it was a very wooden performance because his pockets were full of money. I heard anywhere like best defense was $10 million, but I think this had to be the $10-25 million range. He was getting Marlon Brando money for a movie that, he kind of played like a Chevy Chase style of comedic character, and that doesn't work with Eddie Murphy. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here with our 1980s movie podcast, from a historical and a monetary standpoint, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. Bye.